Right now, as you are watching this, a massive winter storm is building across the United States. And I am not talking about some minor weather event. I am talking about a storm system that could dump over 12 inches of snow across a huge stretch of this country, coat roads in dangerous ice from Kansas City all the way to the mid-Atlantic, and send temperatures crashing by 40 to 50 degrees in less than 24 hours. If you live anywhere from Nebraska to New England, you need to hear what I'm about to tell you. And here is the thing, this is not just one storm. We are tracking at least 2, possibly 3 major winter weather events back to back over the next 7 to 10 days. The first one hits this weekend. The second one rolls in by Tuesday. And there are already signals of a third system forming right behind that. On top of all of this, severe weather is about to make its return across the Great Plains and the Southeast as we head into the first week of March. So let me be very clear about what this video is going to give you. In the next few minutes, I am going to break down exactly when these storms hit, where the heaviest snow falls, which cities are in the danger zone for ice, and what the temperature swings are going to look like. I am covering more than 70 cities and locations across the country. If you live in the United States, your city is probably on this list. And stick around because at the 5-minute mark, I am going to show you the specific snowfall projections city by city. That is where you are going to want to pay very close attention. But first, drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from, your city, your state, because we are going to be updating this forecast. And if I know where you are, I can give you a more targeted breakdown. Seriously, comment your location. It helps everyone. Now, let me set the stage for what is happening in the atmosphere right now, because this is where it gets wild. We have a massive dip in the jet stream that is plunging down across the central United States. Think of the jet stream like a river of air about 35,000 feet up in the atmosphere. When that river dips south, it drags Arctic air with it, and right now, that dip is enormous. We are talking about a piece of the polar vortex literally getting ripped off and thrown down into the lower 48 states. That is not an exaggeration. That is what the models are showing. At the same time, way down in the southern plains, temperatures are surging into the 80s. Oklahoma City is looking at 81 degrees on Sunday. Meanwhile, Des Moines, Iowa, just a few hundred miles to the north, is sitting in the low 20s. That is a 60-degree temperature difference. Let that sink in. 60 degrees between two cities that are not even that far apart. And do you know what happens when you get that kind of temperature contrast? You get storms. Big ones, violent ones. The atmosphere cannot handle that kind of imbalance. It has to equalize. And the way it does that is by creating massive storm systems. That is exactly what is about to happen. Now here is the timeline. And this is the part you are going to want to save or screenshot because the timing matters. Let us start with what is happening right now, today. We have an Alberta Clipper, which is a fast-moving storm system that drops down from Canada, currently sitting just north of the Great Lakes. This system is pushing a band of light to moderate snowfall across Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, and into central and southern New England. Now, this is not a blockbuster storm. Snowfall rates are about a ½ inch to maybe an inch per hour, but it is enough to make roads slippery, enough to slow your commute, enough to remind you that winter is very much still in charge. Cities getting hit right now include Indianapolis, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Charleston in West Virginia, Hartford, Providence, and Boston. The snow is relatively scattered, but some areas could see 1 to 3 inches before this wraps up by late tonight. And here is something a lot of people are not talking about. Out in the Pacific Northwest, an atmospheric river event is developing. That is a long plume of tropical moisture that stretches thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean. And some of that moisture is going to get pulled across the country starting late tonight and into early tomorrow. That sets the table for what comes next. By late Wednesday night and into Thursday morning, a new band of light snowfall develops across the Central Plains and the Midwest. We are talking about Des Moines, Springfield in Illinois, and Indianapolis seeing some flurries. This is the appetizer. This is the storm system warming up. Now, Thursday afternoon is when this system starts to show a little more muscle. A swath of snow develops across the Ohio Valley and pushes into the mid-Atlantic. Washington, D.C., you are on the board. Baltimore, you are on the board. West Virginia, you are definitely on the board. Central and southern New Jersey, Long Island, and even the southern tip of New England could see some light snowflakes late Thursday into early Friday. But wait, and I cannot stress this enough, Thursday's system is not the big story. It is not even close. Thursday is just the opening act. The main event is coming this weekend, and models have been trending stronger and stronger on this. So let me tell you about the weekend storm, because this is where it gets serious. Late Friday night, another Alberta clipper swings through. This one brushes the northeast with some additional light snow. Again, not the headline maker. But what happens Saturday night into Sunday is what you need to prepare for. A very intense high-pressure system begins building over the northern plains and the upper Midwest. This is the Arctic air mass I was telling you about. Think of this high-pressure system like a giant dome of cold, dense air sitting over the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. It is a refrigerator, and it is pushing cold air south and east like a bulldozer. At the same time, moisture is trying to ride up from the Gulf of Mexico along the southern edge of this cold dome. When warm, moist air collides with frigid Arctic air, you get precipitation. A lot of it. And the type of precipitation, whether it is snow, ice, or rain, depends on exactly where that boundary sets up. Here is the timeline for the weekend storm, city by city. Pay attention to your area. Sunday morning, March 1st. The storm begins to organize. An elongated band of moisture stretches from Nebraska all the way back into the northeast. At this point, it is mostly light snow, but it is the beginning. Cities seeing the first flakes. Sunday morning include Omaha, Lincoln, Sioux City, and Des Moines. Light snow, maybe a half-inch per hour. Nothing crazy yet. By Sunday afternoon, things escalate fast. The storm taps into that Pacific moisture, and the rising motion on the east side of the high-pressure system supercharges the precipitation. A large band of heavy snowfall develops, stretching from Nebraska through Iowa into Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. We are talking about Chicago, Peoria, Springfield, Champaign, Indianapolis, Dayton, Columbus, and all points in between. Snowfall rates in this band could hit 2 to 3 inches per hour. That is the kind of snow where you cannot see the car in front of you, the kind of snow where plows cannot keep up, the kind of snow that shuts down interstates. And right in the middle of that snow band, near St. Louis, Kansas City, and potentially even into southern Illinois and southern Indiana, we could see a changeover to freezing rain and sleet. Now, here's what nobody tells you about freezing rain. A 1/4 inch of ice on power lines is enough to start snapping them. A 1/2 inch of ice and you are looking at widespread power outages that can last for days. And some of the models are hinting at significant ice accumulation in that corridor. Do not skip the next part. This is where the storm goes from bad to dangerous. Sunday night into Monday morning. The storm intensifies and expands. That heavy snow band pushes east. We are now talking about Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, Scranton, Harrisburg, Philadelphia. All of these cities are in the crosshairs for significant snowfall. The freezing rain and sleet zone also expands. From Kansas City, it stretches east through St. Louis, Louisville, Lexington, Charleston in West Virginia, all the way to the Virginia and Maryland border. This is a 700-mile swath of potential ice. And the cold air behind this system. Let me tell you about the cold air. As the storm pushes through, temperatures behind it plummet. We are talking about wind chills below zero across the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Nebraska. Single digits and teens across Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. And this is not just a one-night cold snap. This cold air settles in and sticks around Monday morning, March 2nd. This is when the storm hammers the Northeast. And if you live in the Northeast, I know you are tired of hearing this, but here we go again. This winter has been absolutely relentless for you. The nor'easter you just dealt with was historic. And now, less than a week later, another significant winter storm is bearing down. New York City, you could be looking at 6 to 12 inches of snow. Let me say that again, 6 to 12 inches. On top of whatever you have not even finished shoveling from the last storm. Boston, same deal, 6 to 10 inches possible. Hartford, 8 to 14 inches. Providence, 6 to 12. Albany, 10 to 16. Syracuse, 8 to 12, with some areas north of the city possibly pushing past 18 inches with lake enhancement. But here is the part that makes this tricky. Washington, D.C., you are on the rain-snow line. Depending on exactly where the cold air boundary sets up, you could get anything from 3 inches of snow to a 1/2 inch of ice to just cold rain. The difference between those three outcomes is a shift of about 50 miles. That is how tight this temperature gradient is. Baltimore, same situation. You are right on the edge. Northern suburbs could see all snow, southern suburbs could see rain. and the area in between could get the worst of it, a layer of ice that brings down trees and power lines. Philadelphia, you are more likely to see all snow, but the southern and western suburbs need to watch for mixing. Allentown, Bethlehem, the Lehigh Valley, you are looking at heavy snow, 8 to 12 inches possible. Now let me run through more cities across the Midwest and Central Plains, because this storm starts there first. Omaha, Nebraska. Snow begins Sunday morning, 3 to 6 inches expected. Peak snowfall rates Sunday afternoon, Lincoln, Nebraska. Similar to Omaha, 3 to 5 inches. Snow tapers off Sunday evening, Des Moines, Iowa. Snow begins Sunday morning and does not stop until Monday morning. 6 to 10 inches possible. This could be a top 5 snowstorm for the season, Kansas City, Missouri. This is where it gets complicated. Snow starts Sunday afternoon, but could transition to freezing rain and sleet by Sunday night. 2 to 4 inches of snow, followed by a quarter to a half inch of ice accumulation. Power outages are a real concern here. St. Louis, Missouri, very similar to Kansas City. Snow first, then a changeover to ice. The ice accumulation could be significant. Stay off the road Sunday night, Chicago, Illinois. Snow begins Sunday afternoon. Heavy snow Sunday night through Monday morning. 8 to 12 inches possible, with some models pushing higher. Wind gusts of 20 to 30 miles per hour create near blizzard conditions at times. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 6 to 8 inches of snow Sunday evening through Monday morning. Temperatures drop into the single digits behind the storm. Minneapolis and St. Paul. You are on the northern edge of the main snow band. 3 to 5 inches, but the real story for you is the cold. Monday night wind chills could drop to 20 below zero. Detroit, Michigan. Snow arrives Sunday night, 4 to 7 inches by Monday afternoon. Freezing rain is possible briefly during the transition. Grand Rapids, Michigan. 6 to 9 inches with lake effect enhancement possible on the backside. Toledo, Ohio. 5 to 8 inches. Snow begins Sunday evening. Cleveland, Ohio. Heavy snow Monday morning, 6 to 10 inches. The snow comes in fast, possibly 2 inches per hour at its peak. Akron and Canton, Ohio, 7 to 11 inches. Higher amounts in the northern suburbs closer to the lake. Columbus, Ohio, 4 to 7 inches with a brief period of sleet or freezing rain possible before changing to all snow. Cincinnati, Ohio, right on the rain-snow line. 2 to 4 inches of snow possible, but a changeover to freezing rain is likely. Ice accumulation of 1/10 to 1/4 inch. Louisville, Kentucky. Mostly freezing rain and sleet. Ice accumulation of 1/4 to a half inch. This could be crippling. Tree damage and widespread power outages are possible. Lexington, Kentucky. Similar to Louisville. A mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Ice accumulation is the primary concern. Nashville, Tennessee. Cold rain, possibly mixing with a few flurries on the back end. Not expecting significant winter weather, but temperatures will drop sharply. Indianapolis, Indiana. Snow begins Sunday afternoon, 6 to 9 inches by Monday morning. Some freezing rain possible in southern suburbs. Fort Wayne, Indiana, 6 to 8 inches. All snow, a clean, cold snowstorm for you. South Bend, Indiana, 7 to 10 inches. Lake effect could boost those numbers. Now the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. This is where the storm hits Monday and into Tuesday. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Snow begins late Sunday night. 6 to 10 inches by Tuesday morning. Winds of 20 to 25 miles per hour. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 5 to 8 inches. Snow heaviest Monday morning. Allentown, Pennsylvania, 7 to 11 inches. Heavy snow Monday morning through Monday evening. Scranton, Pennsylvania, 8 to 12 inches. This is in the bullseye for the heaviest snow band. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 5 to 9 inches. Snow begins Monday morning and continues through Monday night. Southern suburbs may see some mixing. Wilmington, Delaware, 3 to 6 inches with the potential for a period of freezing rain. Trenton, New Jersey, 5 to 8 inches, all snow likely. Newark, New Jersey, 6 to 10 inches. Heavy snow Monday afternoon. Washington, D.C., 1 to 5 inches of snow or a half inch of ice. Too early to call the exact precipitation type. This is the tightest call in the entire forecast. Baltimore, Maryland, 2 to 6 inches possible. Northern suburbs favored for higher amounts. Richmond, Virginia. Cold rain with a brief changeover to snow or sleet possible. Maybe a coating to an inch. Norfolk, Virginia. Cold rain. Not expecting significant winter weather. Roanoke, Virginia. 3 to 5 inches of snow possible. Higher elevations in the Blue Ridge could see more. Charleston, West Virginia. 4 to 7 inches of snow mixing with freezing rain at times. Ice accumulation is a concern, especially in the valleys. Morgantown, West Virginia. 6 to 9 inches. Heavy snow, Dover, Delaware, 2 to 4 inches with some mixing. New York City, 6 to 12 inches. Snow begins Monday morning. Peak snowfall Monday afternoon through Monday night. This has the potential to be another blockbuster for the 5 boroughs. Long Island, 6 to 10 inches. Eastern Long Island may see slightly lower amounts if the rain snow line creeps in. Westchester and Rockland counties, New York, 8 to 12 inches. Albany, New York, 10 to 16 inches. You are in the sweet spot for the heaviest snow. Syracuse, New York, 8 to 12 inches from the main storm with additional lake effect possible. Rochester, New York, 6 to 9 inches. Lake effect could add more on the backside. Buffalo, New York, 6 to 8 inches from the storm itself. But the lake effect machine could kick in afterward and add several more inches. Binghamton, New York, 8 to 11 inches. Hartford, Connecticut, 8 to 14 inches. This could be your biggest storm of the season. New Haven, Connecticut, 6 to 10 inches. Bridgeport, Connecticut, 5 to 9 inches. Closer to the coast, amounts may be slightly lower. Providence, Rhode Island, 6 to 12 inches. Snow heavy at times Monday afternoon. Boston, Massachusetts, 6 to 10 inches. Snow begins Monday morning. Peak intensity Monday evening. Worcester, Massachusetts, 8 to 14 inches. Interior New England gets hammered. Springfield, Massachusetts, 7 to 11 inches. Portland, Maine, 5 to 8 inches. The main snow band may pass just to the south, but you still get clipped. Burlington, Vermont, 4 to 7 inches. Northern Vermont sees less from this system. Concord, New Hampshire, 6 to 10 inches. Manchester, New Hampshire, 7 to 11 inches. Now, I promised you that at the 5-minute mark I would deliver the specific projections, and I just did. But we are not done, not even close, because there is a second storm right behind this one. Do not skip this next section. The second storm could be just as impactful as the first. Here is what happens. The first storm pushes through Sunday into Monday. By Monday evening, it is pulling away from the northeast, but the cold air behind it does not leave. It digs in. Temperatures across the Midwest and Northeast are well below average. The ground is covered in fresh snow. Roads are icy. And then by Tuesday, March 3rd, a second wave of moisture comes surging in. The models are showing another round of accumulating snow from the Ohio Valley through the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast. The European model shows this second system as a high-impact winter storm that moves in fast, delivers heavy snow and a wintry mix, and then exits. For the Northeast specifically, this Tuesday system could add another 3 to 8 inches on top of what already fell on Monday. That means some areas could see a combined total of 15 to 20 inches or more from the two storms combined. Think about that for a second. 15 to 20 inches of snow in a 3-day span, and this is after the region just got hammered by a historic nor'easter. Now, there is some disagreement between the models on the second storm. The European model is more aggressive with it, especially in the Northeast. The GFS model kind of wraps it up faster and transitions to rain sooner as the cold air retreats north. So the second storm has more uncertainty, but the signal is there. Multiple model runs, including the artificial intelligence-enhanced versions of both the European and the GFS, are all showing a second round of significant winter weather by Tuesday. And here is the twist that no one is talking about yet. By the middle of next week, the pattern flips. After days of brutal cold and heavy snow, a massive warm-up is coming. The Climate Prediction Center is showing above-average temperature probabilities for almost the entire lower 48 states from March 4th through March 10th. When Alaska gets cold and the rest of the country gets warm, that is a classic pattern reversal. And that is exactly what the long-range models are showing. But do not think warm means calm. Here is where it gets intense in a different way. When you flush warm air into a region that was just sitting under Arctic air, you get explosive instability. And that means severe thunderstorms. The first week of March is looking increasingly likely to bring the return of severe weather across the Great Plains and the Southeast. We are talking about the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. Cities like Oklahoma City, Dallas, Fort Worth, Wichita, Tulsa, Little Rock, Memphis, Birmingham, and Atlanta all need to start paying attention. The severe weather season may be arriving with a bang. Models are showing strong troughing developing over the West Coast during the first week of March, and that jet stream pattern is a classic severe weather setup for Tornado Alley and Dixie Alley. Now let me also touch on what is happening out west, because the western half of the country has its own story. The Rockies are seeing winter storm warnings right now. Heavy snow is falling in the higher elevations of Colorado, Utah, and Montana. If you are in Denver, you are looking at breezy conditions with periodic snow showers. Ski resorts in the Wasatch Range and the Colorado Rockies are getting absolutely dumped on, which is great news for the snowpack and water supply. Phoenix and Tucson, you are looking at warm and dry conditions through the weekend. Temperatures in the low 80s. Los Angeles and San Diego, your cool down was short-lived. Temperatures are bouncing back into the 70s. San Francisco and the Bay Area, mild conditions with some offshore flow. Fire weather concerns remain elevated in parts of Northern California due to low humidity and gusty winds. Seattle and Portland, that atmospheric river I mentioned, is bringing heavy rain to you through Thursday. Some areas in the Cascades could see 2 to 3 feet of new snow above 5,000 feet. Salt Lake City, periods of snow through the weekend. The valleys see 3 to 5 inches. The mountains see much more. Boise, Idaho, breezy with scattered snow showers, 1 to 3 inches in the valley. Now the deep south. Let me give you a quick update because you are not left out of this pattern. Jackson, Mississippi, warm and humid with scattered showers by the weekend. Highs near 70, New Orleans. Warm, muggy, highs in the mid-70s. Houston, Texas, temperatures climbing into the low 80s this weekend. That warmth is what is feeding moisture into the storm system up north. San Antonio, Texas, mid-80s by Sunday. Just remarkable warmth. Midland and Lubbock, Texas, mid-70s, breezy. Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Florida, highs around 80. Typical late February weather for you. Tampa and Orlando, Florida, upper 70s. Some clouds moving in by early next week. Jacksonville, Florida, cooler than the rest of the state. Low 70s with a cold front approaching. Savannah, Georgia, mid-60s climbing to the low 70s by the weekend. Charleston, South Carolina, similar pattern. Mid-60s now, warming to near 70. Charlotte, North Carolina. This is an interesting one. You are close enough to the storm track that you could see some freezing rain or sleet, especially in the foothills and mountains to your west. Asheville. You need to watch this closely. The models are showing some frozen precipitation getting pushed into the western North Carolina mountains by cold air damming east of the Appalachians. 2 to 4 inches of snow possible above 3,000 feet in the Smokies and the Blue Ridge, Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. Cold rain is likely, but the northern edge of this precipitation could briefly mix with snow or sleet. A dusting is not out of the question. Knoxville, Tennessee, a mix of rain, sleet, and snow. Accumulation of 1 to 3 inches possible in the surrounding mountains. Chattanooga, Tennessee, mostly cold rain. Now I want to step back and talk about what all of this means in the big picture, because this weather pattern is truly extraordinary. We are looking at a late February, early March setup that is going to deliver 3 different types of extreme weather to 3 different parts of the country almost simultaneously. Heavy snow and ice across the Midwest and Northeast. Severe thunderstorm potential across the Central Plains and Southeast. And continued drought concerns mixed with occasional atmospheric river events in parts of the West. The last time we saw a pattern this active during this transition period from winter to spring was back in 2011, and that season produced one of the most devastating tornado outbreaks in American history during the month of April. Now, I am not saying that is going to happen this year, but what I am saying is that this atmospheric pattern is loaded. The energy is there, the moisture is there, the temperature contrasts are there. All the ingredients are in place for a very active, severe weather season. So if you live in Tornado Alley or Dixie Alley, now is the time to make sure your storm shelter is ready, your weather radio has fresh batteries, and you have a plan. Do not wait until the first tornado watch is issued. Now let me bring it back to the immediate term, because the weekend storm is what you need to focus on right now. Here is your checklist. If you are in the snow zone, which runs from Nebraska through Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and into Maine, make sure you have extra food and water on hand. Make sure your phone is charged. Make sure your car has a full tank of gas. And if you do not have to drive Sunday night through Monday, please do not. If you are in the ice zone, which runs from Kansas City through St. Louis, Louisville, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, West Virginia, and into the mountains of Virginia and North Carolina, ice is the most dangerous type of winter weather. It takes down trees, it takes down power lines, it makes roads into skating rinks. If your area gets a 1/4 inch of ice or more, you could be without power for days. Have a backup heat source, have flashlights, have blankets. If you are in the transition zone between snow and ice, which includes cities like Cincinnati, Columbus, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia, you need to be prepared for both. The exact precipitation type could change right up until the storm arrives. Stay close to your local forecast. And if you are in the warm zone across the southern plains and the southeast, enjoy it while it lasts because severe weather is coming your way by mid to early March. Now here is something I want you to remember. The models are still sorting out the details. The GFS model is more aggressive with snowfall totals. It is showing a widespread 12-plus inch swath of snow from the Midwest to the Northeast. The European model is more conservative, showing 3 to 6 inches in some areas, 6 to 10 in others. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but the trend has been toward the stronger solution. The important thing is that every major model, the GFS, the European, the GFS artificial intelligence model, the European artificial intelligence model, the ensemble systems, all of them are agreeing on the same basic story. A significant winter storm this weekend, a potential second storm by Tuesday, and a pattern change to warmer temperatures and severe weather potential by mid-next week. When all the models agree on the big picture, that is when you pay attention. Now let me address something that I know a lot of you are feeling. You are tired of winter. I get it. It has been a long one, especially in the Northeast. Between the repeated nor'easters, the Arctic blasts, the historic snowfall totals, it has been exhausting. And I know hearing about another major winter storm is not what you wanted to hear, but here is the good news. And there actually is good news in all of this. The Climate Prediction Center is showing very high confidence that a massive warm-up is coming by the second week of March. We are talking about above-average temperatures across nearly the entire country. The 8 to 14-day outlook is painted red from coast to coast. When you see Alaska turn blue and the lower 48 turn red, that is the classic signal that the polar vortex is retreating back north and winter is loosening its grip. So yes, you have to get through this weekend, and yes, you might have to deal with one more storm by Tuesday. But after that, the pattern shifts. Spring starts knocking on the door. And for those of you who have been counting the days until winter ends, the light at the end of the tunnel is finally starting to appear. But between now and then, please take this storm seriously. The combination of heavy snow, dangerous ice, and bitter cold is a recipe for life-threatening conditions. Check on your elderly neighbors. Make sure your pets have shelter. Stock up on essentials before Saturday. And one more thing, there has been talk in the meteorological community about a potential split of the polar vortex during the second half of March. Now, this is very uncertain and there are a lot of question marks around it, but if it happens, it could mean that after this brief warm-up, we get one more shot of cold air later in March, so do not put the winter coat in storage just yet. Now, I have one final update before we wrap up. The National Weather Service blended model guidance is currently showing a very large area of at least 3 to 6 inches of snow across the Midwest and Northeast through early next week. Some areas in the heaviest snow band are being projected at over 12 inches, and the freezing rain signal is showing up from Missouri through southern Illinois, southern Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and even stretching into the Virginia, Piedmont, and northern North Carolina. This is a long-lived event. It starts Sunday. It does not fully exit the Northeast until Wednesday. That is 4 days of active weather across a huge portion of the country. Over 150 million Americans could be impacted in some way by this storm system. So here's what I need you to do right now. Drop a comment below with your city and state. Tell me where you are watching from. I am going to do an updated forecast as we get closer to the weekend when the models lock in on the details, and I want to make sure I am covering your area. And do not miss the next video, because in the next update, I am going to have the final snowfall projections locked in, the exact timing narrowed down to the hour for each major city, and the ice accumulation forecasts dialed in. That is the video where we go from general guidance to precision forecasting. You are not going to want to miss it. If you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notifications so you get alerted the moment that next video drops. This storm is coming fast and the forecast is going to keep evolving over the next 48 hours. I will have all the latest updates for you. Stay safe out there. Prepare now while you still have time. And I will see you in the next video where we break down the final track, the final totals, and whether that second storm is going to make this a historic week of winter weather. It is coming. Be ready. Actually, hold on. Before I let you go, there are a few more things I need to cover that could make a real difference for you this weekend. And I saved some of the most important details for right here at the end. So stay with me. Let us talk about travel, because this storm is hitting right at the start of March and a lot of people have plans, road trips, flights, weekend getaways, and this storm is going to wreck travel plans across a huge chunk of the country. If you are flying into or out of any major airport in the Midwest or Northeast between Sunday and Tuesday, you need to have a backup plan. Chicago O'Hare, Chicago Midway, Detroit Metro, Cleveland Hopkins, Pittsburgh International, Philadelphia International, Newark Liberty, John F. Kennedy, LaGuardia, Boston Logan, Hartford Bradley, Albany International, Syracuse Hancock. All of these airports are in the direct path of this storm. We are talking about potential ground stops, flight cancellations, multi-hour delays. If your airline offers free rebooking, take advantage of it now before the rush hits. Move your flight to Saturday if you can, or push it to Wednesday or Thursday when the weather clears out. For road travelers, Interstate 80 from Nebraska through Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania is going to be a nightmare Sunday night through Tuesday morning. Interstate 70 from Kansas City through St. Louis, Indianapolis, Columbus, and into the Pennsylvania Turnpike will be equally bad, possibly worse because of the ice threat in the western sections. Interstate 90 from Cleveland through Erie, Buffalo, Syracuse, and Albany. Expect heavy snow and reduced visibility. Interstate 95 from Washington, D.C. through Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Hartford, and into Boston. This is the most heavily traveled corridor in the country, and it is going to get hammered Monday into Tuesday. The New York State Thruway, the Mass Pike, the Connecticut Turnpike, the New Jersey Turnpike, the Pennsylvania Turnpike. All of these major toll roads run right through the heaviest snow zone. If you do not absolutely have to be on these roads, stay home. And here is a detail that a lot of people overlook. Even after the snow stops falling, the danger does not end. Temperatures behind the storm are going to plunge well below freezing. That means any melting that happens during the day will refreeze at night, turning roads into sheets of black ice. Monday night and Tuesday morning are going to be especially treacherous for this reason. Even if the snow has stopped, the roads will still be dangerous. Now let me circle back to the ice storm threat because I really want to hammer this point home. Ice storms are the most underrated and most dangerous type of winter weather. People hear snow and they think, okay, I will shovel. People hear freezing rain and they think it is just rain that is cold. But that is not what freezing rain does. Freezing rain coats everything it touches with a layer of solid ice. Roads, sidewalks, power lines, tree branches, your car, your front steps. A quarter-inch of ice accumulation is enough to make driving impossible. Not just dangerous, impossible. Your tires have zero grip. Your brakes do not work. You slide into things. Other things slide into you. A half-inch of ice starts bringing down tree limbs that fall on power lines, tree limbs that fall on cars, tree limbs that fall on houses. During the major ice storms that have hit the Midwest and Southeast in recent decades, some communities went without power for 1 to 2 weeks. And right now, the models are showing the potential for a quarter to a half-inch of ice accumulation in a band stretching from Kansas City through central Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, Kentucky, and into the mountains of West Virginia and Virginia. If you live in this zone, please do not take this lightly. Charge every device you own before Sunday. Fill your bathtub with water in case you lose water pressure. Have non-perishable food that does not require cooking. Have blankets and warm clothing easily accessible. If you have a generator, make sure it works and make sure you have fuel. And never, I repeat never, run a generator indoors or in a garage. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills people every single winter during power outages. That is not something I am trying to scare you with. That is a fact. Let me also talk about what this means for the farming community, because this is a big deal that does not always get the attention it deserves. Early March is when a lot of winter wheat across the Great Plains and the Midwest is starting to come out of dormancy. The extreme temperature swings we are about to see, going from the 20s and 30s down to single digits and below zero wind chills, then bouncing back into the 50s and 60s by mid-March, that puts enormous stress on crops. Livestock producers across Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana need to be especially vigilant this weekend. Newborn calves and lambs are particularly vulnerable during ice storms. Make sure your animals have adequate shelter and unfrozen water sources. The combination of heavy snow followed by a rapid warm-up also raises the risk of flooding in some areas. When 6 to 12 inches of snow gets dumped on the ground and then temperatures surge into the 50s and 60s just days later, all that snow melts fast. Rivers and streams in the Ohio Valley, the upper Mississippi Basin, and parts of the Northeast could see a rapid rise in water levels by the second week of March. The National Weather Service will be monitoring this closely, and so should you if you live in a flood-prone area. Now, I know I have thrown a lot of information at you, so let me boil it down into the key points you absolutely need to remember. A significant winter storm is coming this weekend, Sunday through Monday. Heavy snow from Nebraska to New England, dangerous ice from Kansas City to West Virginia, bitter cold behind the storm. A second storm is likely by Tuesday, adding more snow to the Northeast and extending the winter weather event into the middle of next week. The storm track and exact snowfall totals are still being refined. Models generally agree on the big picture, but differ on specifics. The GFS is more aggressive with 12+ inches in the heaviest band. The European model is more conservative at 3 to 8 inches. The truth is likely in between, and I will have updated projections in the next video. Ice accumulation is a serious threat across the central corridor of the storm. If you live between Kansas City and West Virginia, prepare for the possibility of power outages and dangerous road conditions. After this storm, a massive warm-up is expected during the first 2 weeks of March. This warm-up will likely trigger the return of severe weather across the Great Plains and Southeast. If you live in Tornado Alley or Dixie Alley, start preparing now. The Northeast has been hammered by winter weather this season, and this weekend will add to the historic totals. But the light at the end of the tunnel is approaching. The 8 to 14-day outlook shows widespread above-average temperatures for nearly the entire country. Now, I want to get personal with you for a moment. I have been watching weather patterns for a long time, and there are certain setups that make me sit up straight in my chair. This is one of them. The combination of a polar vortex displacement, an intense Arctic high, Gulf moisture surging north, and an atmospheric river out of the Pacific all happening at the same time is the kind of setup that produces memorable storms. The kind of storms people talk about for years. Am I saying this is going to be the storm of the decade? No. But I am saying that the ingredients are there for a significant multi-day, high-impact winter weather event that affects tens of millions of people. And when the ingredients are there, you prepare. You do not wait and see. And speaking of ingredients, let me geek out with you for just a second on the atmospheric setup because it is fascinating. At about 18,000 feet above the surface, we have a massive trough of low pressure digging south out of Canada. This trough is the cold air delivery system. It is like a giant funnel that channels Arctic air straight into the central and eastern United States. At the same time, a ridge of high pressure is building over the southeastern states. This ridge pumps warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico northward. When that warm, moist air runs into the cold air being funneled down by the trough, it is forced to rise. And when air rises, it cools. And when it cools, it condenses. And when it condenses, you get precipitation, a lot of it. The jet stream, which is flowing at around 200 millibars, about 39,000 feet up, is screaming along the boundary between this cold air and warm air. Wind speeds in the jet stream are expected to exceed 150 miles per hour. That is fuel for storm development. That kind of upper-level energy is what takes an ordinary storm and turns it into a beast. And here is one more piece of the puzzle. The tight temperature gradient at the surface, where you have the 20s and 30s just a few hundred miles north of the 70s and 80s, creates something called baroclinicity. Big word, simple concept. It just means the atmosphere is loaded with potential energy like a coiled spring. When a disturbance comes along, like the wave of energy dropping down from the Pacific, that spring releases. And the result is a rapidly intensifying storm system. That is what we are looking at this weekend. A loaded atmospheric spring ready to release. And by the way, this is exactly why the models have been trending stronger with each update. Every time the computers run the numbers, they are seeing more energy, more moisture, and a colder air mass than the run before. When models trend in one direction over multiple days and multiple runs, that tells me the atmosphere is organizing. It is locking in. And the window for this storm to fall apart or weaken is closing fast. The European model ensemble, which runs 51 individual simulations and averages them together, is now showing a clear snowfall signal of 1 to 4 inches across the Midwest and 2 to 3.5 inches across parts of New England in 24-hour periods. And remember, that is an average of 51 different scenarios. When 51 simulations all agree that significant snow is coming, you listen. The GFS artificial intelligence model is showing the same thing. So is the European artificial intelligence model. These are cutting-edge forecasting tools that use machine learning to refine predictions, and they are all pointing in the same direction. Big storm this weekend. Prepare. Let me also give you one more city-by-city update on some areas I did not fully cover earlier. Topeka, Kansas. Snow begins Sunday afternoon, transitioning to freezing rain by Sunday night. 2 to 4 inches of snow followed by ice accumulation. Dangerous conditions late Sunday. Wichita, Kansas. On the warm side of the storm, mostly rain with temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. But if the cold air surges further south than expected, you could be in the ice zone. Watch the updates closely. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. 4 to 6 inches of snow. Sunday morning through Monday morning. Temperatures dropping to around 5 below zero behind the storm. Fargo, North Dakota. 2 to 4 inches. You are on the northern fringe. But wind chills Monday could hit 30 below zero. That is dangerous cold. Duluth, Minnesota. 3 to 5 inches of snow. Not the biggest storm for you, but the cold behind it is the real story. Monday night, wind chills approaching 25 below. Green Bay, Wisconsin. 5 to 8 inches. Heavy snow Sunday night. Road conditions terrible through Monday afternoon. Madison, Wisconsin. 6 to 9 inches. One of the harder hit cities in the upper Midwest. Snow begins Sunday evening and does not stop until Monday afternoon. Rockford, Illinois, 5 to 8 inches. Heavy snow Sunday night. Quad Cities area, Davenport and Rock Island, 5 to 7 inches. Snow begins Sunday afternoon. Evansville, Indiana. On the southern edge of the snow, 2 to 4 inches mixing with sleet and freezing rain. Ice accumulation is a concern here. Terre Haute, Indiana. 4 to 6 inches of snow with a period of freezing drizzle mixed in. Huntington, West Virginia. A nasty mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. 3 to 5 inches of snow plus ice accumulation. Power outage risk is high. Wheeling, West Virginia. 5 to 8 inches of snow. You are far enough north to stay mainly all snow. Erie, Pennsylvania. 7 to 10 inches. Lake-enhanced snow could push totals higher on the east side of the city. State College, Pennsylvania. 6 to 9 inches. Heavy snow Monday. Williamsport, Pennsylvania. 5 to 8 inches. Reading, Pennsylvania. 5 to 8 inches. Poughkeepsie, New York. 8 to 12 inches. White Plains, New York. 7 to 11 inches. Stamford, Connecticut. 6 to 9 inches. Waterbury, Connecticut. 8 to 12 inches. Bangor, Maine, 3 to 6 inches. The main snow band passes to your south, but you still get clipped by the northern edge. Augusta, Maine, 4 to 7 inches. Montpelier, Vermont, 4 to 6 inches. Northern Vermont sees less than southern Vermont with this system. Brattleboro, Vermont, 6 to 9 inches. Southern Vermont gets the heavier snow. Nashua, New Hampshire, 7 to 10 inches. And for anyone I did not mention, if your city is between the Rockies and the Atlantic coast and you are north of the Tennessee and North Carolina border, you need to be paying attention to this storm. Even areas that do not get the heaviest snow could still see dangerous wind chills, slippery roads, and travel disruptions. All right, that truly is everything for this update. I know it was a lot, but this is a big weather event and you deserve to have all the information you need to keep yourself and your family safe. Remember, comment below with your city and state. I read every single comment and it helps me focus the next forecast on the areas that need it most. The next video is going to be the one where all the pieces come together. Final snowfall maps, hour-by-hour timing for every major city, ice accumulation projections down to the 10th of an inch, and a first look at the severe weather threat for the first week of March. That video drops as soon as the models lock in, which should be within the next 24 to 48 hours. Subscribe if you have not already. Hit that bell. Share this video with someone you know in the storm zone. A quick text to your mom in Ohio or your brother in Pennsylvania could make all the difference. Getting the word out early saves lives. That is not dramatic. That is just the truth. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stock up on what you need before Saturday. And I will see you very soon in the next video with the final breakdown of what is shaping up to be one of the biggest winter storms of the season. Take care of each other out there.